Welcome back to Section 4 Fans, the podcast with real fans, real takes. Episode 20 is here, and we are starting with a big one. Alabama took down Oklahoma last night. As you could tell, we are recording this on December 20th, and we're going to be breaking down what it means for the playoff picture and the rest of the college football landscape. Then we'll shift gears and dive into a little NBA action around the league. Let's get into it. As you could tell, Carter is currently watching West Ham get destroyed by Man City. But let's dive into this matchup last night. We had Alabama-Oklahoma. That went exactly how I thought it was going to go.
No, I thought Oklahoma was going to stay.
I'm pretty sure I predicted Alabama to win last episode. If not, that's on me. But I did have a feeling Alabama was going to come out and win. Although it started off not appearing like that was going to be the case. Oklahoma came on hot, and it looked like they were going to be able to run away with it a little bit. But, you know, once again, Oklahoma's defense was their only thing they had going for them, and you kind of saw that offense just falter. I think it really went downhill right when Mateer threw that pick six late in the second quarter. That was pretty much about where I tuned into the game. Because
that block punt shifted momentum.
Yeah, definitely.
Block punt shifted the entire game.
I was watching the game on the SEC network, so I was watching it off the Skycam, and I gotta say that is probably the best way to watch football.
Is it like Madden?
It was literally like Madden. I was seeing the reads as the quarterbacks were seeing the reads. I saw Mateer drop back, and I saw they had like 8 or 9 guys that looked like they were going to rush on Bama's defense. They drop one guy back, and I see Mateer throw the ball to the left, and the corner didn't even move for Bama. Caught it, boom, gone. Tied that game up, and I was pretty confident after that moment Alabama was going to stay strong. Their offense is better than Oklahoma's, and I think that just proved it there. Definitely a much-needed win, not just for Alabama to kind of prove the media and other college football fans wrong that they kind of did deserve a spot in this playoff, but also
I still don't think they looked that good. If you watched,
no, they didn't. They looked they maybe looked good for 40-50% of the game. It definitely wasn't a complete game on their part. But Ty Simpson did bounce back.
That first quarter was horrible. They didn't get a first down until the second quarter.
Yeah.
And
slow start.
They had 12 yards total until that drive that they scored. And that's where everything kicked off for them.
And I mean, that's all it took was a little momentum for Bama to get that confidence, get them going. Now we got an interesting slate ahead of us for today's games. But with that Bama win, it sets up Bama, Indiana in the Rose Bowl on January 1st. That is going to be a must-watch game, I think. Indiana right now is favored at -7. Quick thoughts on how you think that potential or that matchup is going to potentially go.
Indiana kills them. If Bama's offense, if Bama comes out like they did in the first quarter against Indiana, I think Indiana's defense is better than Oklahoma's.
I would say more consistent throughout the game, I'd say.
And I don't see how Indiana loses.
Yeah, I agree. Indiana's looked good all year.
It is going to be a dogfight of a game, though. It's not going to be a shootout. It is going to be a dogfight.
But I mean, I think that's what is going to be expected out of all the quarterfinal matchups, at least. I know
whoever Texas Tech plays could be a shootout.
Texas Tech plays the winner of JMU or Oregon.
Yeah, that'll be a shootout.
So that's going to be a very, very good game. Potentially looking like Oregon is going to be moving on. They are -21. So, maybe they get the job done in Eugene, or JMU pulls off a once-in-a-lifetime upset.
I hope it stays close just for the fact of I think Greater 5 teams being able to be in the college football playoffs. That's
Yeah,
the reason why. And people are like, "Oh, Duke should have got in over Tulane," and
no.
Tulane beat Duke this year.
Yeah, Duke was horrible. That whole thing just destroyed kind of, what the playoff was supposed to be. It certainly didn't help. Kind of looking at the matchups today, a JMU win would be huge, but I think, out of the greater five matchups, I think the real likely one would be Tulane over Ole Miss. Obviously, Ole Miss has beat Tulane this year, but I think Tulane would have a better chance beating Ole Miss in comparison to JMU over Oregon. But yeah, a lot of interesting matchups here today. What do we got? We got Ole Miss Tulane at 3:30. First game without Kiffin. I think I think the team will be able to hold steady. I think they promoted the DC as
Yeah,
a
they
head
did.
coach. So
Golden.
yeah, the defense is going to be pretty strong. I'd imagine the offense is going to be relatively similar to how they've played all year. And Trinidad Chambliss has been quite good this year. I believe last time they played Tulane earlier this year, Trinidad had like 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, something relatively close to that. So I'd imagine another similar stat line there. But really, the game I'm looking forward to the most today is Miami
I
at
think
A&M.
everyone's looking forward
Yeah,
to that game. I think
this game's
Miami.
going to be incredible. I think Miami is in a tough spot. If they lose, they're going to get slander. It doesn't matter how if they even keep it close, they're just going to get slandered. Similar thing would have
Oh my
happened if
gosh,
Bama
it's got
lost.
to be a pen. What?
But at A&M, I think it will be a tough test for Miami. A&M's defense has been good most of the year, but I think Miami's offense is just that much better than what A&M's offense will be. So I think Miami is going to be able to get the job done over at what is it, College Station, I believe.
College Station.
But yeah, so that matchup plays Ohio State, and the Tulane Ole Miss plays Georgia. So it looks like we're going to have some pretty quality matchups in the quarterfinals, and I'm looking forward to how the rest of the college football playoff shapes up. Obviously, we've had some bowl games happen. Those have been pretty exciting. The ones I've been able to catch and see at least. But I'm just trying to find a couple of the games. I saw Kennesaw State yesterday got railroaded by Western Michigan. Western Michigan's running back Jalen Buckley had like 120 plus rushing yards and a touchdown in the first quarter. So, that was pure dominance on their end. Next bowl game we got is in Utah State, Washington State. So, that's
What
going to
was
be kind
Washington
of
State's record?
Washington State. I believe they're 6-6. Yeah, 6-6. First in the Pac-12. Okay, go Cougars, man. Pac-12 is going to be interesting next year with those new additions to the conference. I think that's going to really shake up the landscape and shake up the college football playoff
Yeah, that's
next
even a
year.
more chaotic thing to add
Yeah,
to the mix for the college football
for
playoff.
sure. I think that's going to be, because I think since they've expanded the college football playoff, obviously the Pac-12 has kind of just been two teams, so it's not really a conference. So they haven't really been in consideration in terms of the top 5 conference winners. But I think next year we're going to maybe see a Pac-12 team that's maybe up there, maybe similar to like a Duke situation, something like that.
No,
Maybe like a 2-3 loss
who's joining the
Pac-12 winner.
Pac-12?
Fresno State, so Washington State, Oregon State, Fresno State, New Mexico. Let me get this real quick. I want to get it right.
Can you hear my dog barking right now?
No, you're good, boss.
Good.
Okay, so it's going to be Oregon State, Washington State, of course, and then they're going to be joined by Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, SDSU, Utah State, and Texas State. That's going to be for the football, and then for the rest of the Pac-12 sports, Gonzaga is going to be in that conference as well, but obviously they don't have a football team. So a little bit of an interesting Pac-12 kind of shake up there. I think, I think probably the more likely teams that are going to be, leading that conference are going to be Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State. Another thing to keep in mind with Colorado State is they just got Jim Mora from UConn, so that could be a nice addition for Colorado State as they enter
he's
the Pac-12. Good coach. Maybe they could get some things going in that program, get a good build up there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting next season. Over the next couple days, I think the bowl game that stands out the most to me last part here is the UNLV versus Ohio matchup.
They're two top teams and kind of in their conference.
Yep, and UNLV's favored by 6.5. UNLV's been pretty good this year under Dan Mullen, and they've had to acquire quite a bit of talent through the portal, and
that's where they get all their talent.
Yeah, it's worked out well for them, and maybe with a good bowl win here, they'll be able to retain a little bit of the roster, so they don't have to get as much. No, they're staying in the Mountain West.
They might.
I think they'll win.
I don't know how.
Because the Mountain West is. You want me to pull that up for you?
The thing is that I don't know how highly the College Football Playoff Committee will look at the Mountain West. I think they should get rid of the Conference USA.
Yeah. So.
And throw some teams
the Mountain West is. Mountain West is going to be interesting next year.
Say the teams.
So Grand Canyon is going to be in the Mountain West
for basketball. And all other sports, not football.
Yeah, I don't think they have a football team.
Yeah.
Hawaii and UTEP. Hawaii apparently is for football only, if I'm reading that right.
You say Hawaii?
Yeah, Hawaii. They're staying.
Isn't it
football
Hawaii?
Only. Hawaii. It's
I swear you said Hawaii.
Yeah, people say it differently, man.
Really?
Different parts of the country.
Well, you're a West Coast boy. How do you say it?
It depends if you're talking to people from Hawaii or if you're talking to people.
Is that how they say it?
I mean, you could listen to Mariota, Tua, all those guys. They have that little, Hawaiian Polynesian type pronunciation. Yep. God, this is really hard to tell who's in this conference.
So I know UTEP's not.
Yeah, UTEP's joining the Mountain West.
If you tell me teams, I'll be able to tell you if they're in it or not.
So next year it's going to be Air Force.
They're in it already.
God, why can't I find Grand Canyon?
They're joining.
UC Davis.
They're joining. Is UC Davis making the jump to FBS?
Yeah. So that's gonna be another team to watch. We saw 2 successful jumps this year with Missouri State and Delaware. They've made bowl games, so that was pretty exciting. So UC Davis has been good in previous years in the FCS level. So now getting them to the FBS level, I'm pretty interested to see how that's going to affect their program in terms of like talent they're bringing in and out.
They have a good stadium.
I think probably the most interesting team joining this conference is Northern Illinois is joining. They're moving from the MAC to.
How does that work? Not only for this is all sports.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. So. Yep. So I guess the thing with Hawaii was they weren't a full member of the Mountain West in all of their sports. I guess it was just football. So now it's all of their sports are in the Mountain West. But yeah, UTEP's joining 26, 27. UC Davis is joining 26 and 27. So that would be, next season.
Northern Illinois joining makes no sense to me. You're in the MAC already.
Money. That was the main thing that I saw.
How much more are they getting paid?
Probably a bit more. I think. It's all money when it comes to that. Obviously, They were probably they were a big MAC team, a pretty well-known team in that
Yeah, but the
conference.
MAC
And
just makes so much more sense. It's not
yeah,
like the MAC
geographically, that was like the most perfect conference
and
in college
rivalries
football. Yes,
and
100%. So now it's going to be a bit interesting, but I think NIU
like they're gonna have
joining
to
the
fly
Mountain
to
West.
Hawaii. That's
Oh yeah, that's going to be
uh,
that's as well the same thing with Stanford and Cal and how they're in the ACC.
yeah, that makes no
Like
sense.
they've had to fly so
But
many miles this year. It's completely just I can't imagine how hard it is on a player, the amount of class time you're missing, and just the simple
well,
like travel time.
do they go to
Yeah.
class now
Well,
or
no, most of them are online more than likely, but like just a simple like travel, like that's just gonna like drag on you throughout the year.
hmm
But yeah, I think the Mountain West and the Pac-12 are going to be able to shake up the college football playoff next year.
Check in
I
on game day.
I think I think teams from those conferences are probably going to take some of the spots away from what we've seen the Greater Five teams come from the past couple years. Obviously the Pac-12 won't be a Greater Five conference, but the Mountain West will still be considered one. So I think you could see.
Pac-12 is considered a grade of five now, I
Well, no, I'm
think.
saying I'm saying next year. I don't know if they will be, because now they're
No,
back to
they
like a full
will.
strength conference.
They will.
But
They won't count them as a power five.
so that now that's a thought is like what is considered a power five? Is it just money, or do they take into consideration the teams? I can imagine it'd be both, but I just
It's
find it hard to imagine a conference as historic as the Pac-12 be considered a greater five conference.
it's now a power four. It is now a greater five conference because you also got to look at just the I guess kind of like the history of the conference. Like obviously
Yeah,
when it had the teams like USC, UCLA, Oregon, Arizona State, even Arizona,
historic.
historically good in sports,
Yep.
like a lot of sports all around. But now you look at the teams. No,
But yeah,
but
I
it's
think
not
it.
going to be considered a power five. It's going to be
Yeah,
because why would they go back to a power five now that they have a power four? It gives, um, it gives those conferences an edge now to argue that hey, we're considered a Power Four school, so we
yeah.
should get more.
It's
Um,
it's like more revenue, more
Not only
kind of
that, but more respect
yeah,
compared to
and
greater six now in the
yeah,
college
and
football playoff
thinking
land.
thinking about it too is like also if they did consider the
Jesus.
Pac-12, a Power Five, that's I guess it would be a little like disheartening in a way because you have like for example the Big Ten, the Big 12 where they're absolutely loaded with teams now because all those teams left the Pac-12.
Exactly.
So now like the competition level isn't going to be at the same
No, it's
point
not.
between all those conferences. So I think that's the main thing. But college football has been pretty incredible this year. I think there's been a lot of great games, a lot of great storylines coming out, and I think next year it's just going to keep getting better and better. Last thing here, just
What are
a
we
recap
doing? Oh my.
thoughts on the Heisman. I know we had predictions last time. Now that Fernando Mendoza was
He's
the
a
winner,
clown.
and we kind of saw
Not
the votes,
Mendoza. Pavia is a
come through.
clown.
Just thoughts about the Heisman.
I'm glad Pavia didn't win it. Just shows like dude would have had that shit in a club, that that
Yeah.
trophy.
Um.
And like if you look at college football players, like historically, like in they aren't posting stuff online of them getting bottle service and stuff. Obviously, like if you hear about the U of Miami, back when
Yeah.
those like they were those guys like historically called the U and stuff. Obviously, they were in the club and stuff because that's just how it was down there. They said
Yeah. And back
it,
then there wasn't any
it wasn't
social media. Yeah.
social
So a lot
media.
of it went unnoticed.
But the thing is that you look at a Heisman, I feel like a lot that goes into the voting process is like
How you carry yourself.
no, not only that, like just respect towards others,
Yeah.
almost like a sportsmanship thing. kind of just how you are in the media spotlight. Like Mendoza, he every time he gets to a microphone, he gives all his glory to God,
Yeah,
which to me is beautiful.
he's been
And
probably one of the best role models in college football in recent memory, in terms of just how he carries himself, and especially in the post game interviews, what we saw in the Heisman ceremony,
oh my gosh.
how he thanks his family, thanks his teammates, really gives a lot of the credit to his teammates and a lot of the circumstances, which sometimes you don't see. And I saw Reese Davis,
This
who
is so
he
sad.
came out saying that he did vote for Diego Pavia to win the
Yeah,
Heisman,
and he
but
regrets it.
he regretted it, and it wasn't because of it wasn't because of like this, that, and the other. He said it was basically because it felt directed that he was basically saying like F Indiana, F Fernando Mendoza, when that guy has been nothing but true to his character the whole time he's
Yeah,
been in the
and
college football limelight.
he's a
And
leader.
and the other thing with Pavia is the dude's like what, like 24, 25,
Yeah.
and he's acting like as if he was a freshman Johnny Manziel, like where he's still still a kid, doesn't know better. Like, dude, you're 24. Like you should know how to, act, a bit better, especially in that spotlight that you're receiving. I think before the Heisman ceremony, I think people were, maybe thinking him at the highest, a day two NFL draft pick. I think now he's, day three undrafted, just simply off of his behavior. I think a lot of the teams don't
Is
want to
he
deal
going to
with
the
it.
draft? I thought he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
trying to
a
stay
hundred.
another
Yeah,
year.
I mean, he's trying to, just because they'll obviously get more money with NIL than he will as like an undrafted or a third round or a day three pick. But I don't I think he'll just go try and get drafted. Um, but yeah, good on Mendoza. I really hope Indiana wins the college football playoff with Signetti and Mendoza. I think that's been a pretty incredible storyline, and we'll have to see what they do
Oh,
against Bama,
jeez,
but
what that was
it looks pretty
just.
good. If you want to dive into, what do we got here? Dive into some NBA action. We could
Hold on.
switch over real
Yeah,
quick.
hold on. I got. Can you hear it? No, you can't.
Mm-mm,
Can you hear it ringing?
I can't
Drake. Yes. Can you hear that, Danny?
say it again.
Say something, Drake. Hello?
Okay, yeah, I could hear Drake a little bit. We got our live call in.
Analyst here live on.
This is our NBA guru. This guy is the legend, the one Hammy Shrammy. Drake, we're digging into a little bit of NBA action here. We haven't touched on it much, but before we wanted to, give our thoughts about how the season's been shaping up, we wanted to, ask our little NBA analyst his thoughts on the season so far, how some of the teams are doing, especially the Timberwolves.
Yeah, man, I thought the NBA season's been pretty good. The Thunder, obviously, a really good team, even though the Wolves put belt to ass last night.
Let's go. Wolves back.
Wolves back, baby. But yeah, I think the season's been really competitive. I think the NBA Cup was a huge success with how intense the semifinal and final was. So yeah.
Drake, question here. What team is surprising you that you thought were going to be a lot worse? And what's a team that you thought was going to be a lot better and they're ended up towards the bottom of the league right now?
Well, I thought the Clippers were going to be halfway decent. Not, they're terrible.
What do you see from the Clippers right now that makes them just not a good basketball team? Because obviously they have all these, you could say superstars, but they're a little past their prime, you would say, right?
Yeah, I said when they signed Bradley Beal, I said they don't have like any of those guys that are going to go take a charge or like dive out of the ball. You just have like James Harden, who's a ball magnet. You have Bradley Beal, who's a ball magnet. I mean, one guy that like actually was holding everyone accountable, they decided to just
Chris Paul.
he's kind of free. So like, yeah, there's just no like. And Tyronn Lue's overrated as a coach. He sucks. He's just another one of like someone who just fed off LeBron's greatness.
And then what's the team that you thought were going to be towards the bottom of the league, and they've risen to the competition and are a lot higher position than you thought they'd be in?
Miami or Toronto. I think Miami. They're supposed to report saying like they said with
Hold him closer to the mic.
he just like redesigned their whole offense. So like Eric Spoelstra was kind of just like a I can say hard, but they won. Like they actually have like offense. Like you actually have to game plan for yourself.
And then the Raptors, what do you see in them?
They just surprised. I thought they were gonna be crap. Actually, they kind of play decent. They make shots. They play really tough defense, and I think Scotty Barnes has been really good to start there. Probably won't make the All-Star team. But those, like,
It's on the edge.
but,
It's on the edge. Yeah. All right.
yeah.
Well, thanks, Drake. Thought we
Thanks for the call, Drake. Tune in to hear the rest of it.
For sure. Yeah, I will.
All right. Thanks, Drake.
Bet.
That was Drake's Ram.
We got the last couple minutes here. You know, we can kind of just piggyback off some of the things he was saying. I know in a little bit of the things he was saying, it got a little quiet. You couldn't hear him quite well. But he did mention the Heat and the Raptors have surprised him this year in a good way, and the Clippers, you know, have surprised him in a pretty poor way. Kind of going off what he's mentioned, you know, I have to say the Clippers are a complete dumpster fire right now.
Yeah, I mean,
it has not gone anywhere close to the way they thought they were going to go, and you know, I think it's time they got to jump ship. They got to ship guys out because at this current point in time, they don't have their draft pick. OKC has their draft pick unprotected this year. That is the NBA's worst nightmare. Right now, it's projected 3, and they're going to land AJ, whatever his name is, from BYU. That is a crime. So, you know, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers make some moves at the deadline. You know,
but their contracts, I feel like, are so big that they just can't. They won't get much for them.
No, they won't. They'll have to, you know, give up quite a bit. You know, which is probably going to hurt them in the future even more. But if they could land a semi-young star, like for example, like LaMelo Ball, they would have to give up quite a bit for him. But I think
the
someone
Hornets aren't in a position to be trading for a playoff piece.
I know, but if the Clippers want somewhat of a future, they could go after LaMelo Ball, and they can give away some of, you know, their kind of role players, maybe another first-round pick as well, because they already don't have their own, so whatever. But, yeah, I think the Clippers are just screwed. It's a bad spot. They're so bad, everyone's forgotten about the Kawhi Leonard money drama that came out right before the season started. Yeah. Everyone forgot about that because the Clippers have been a dumpster fire, so there's no point in punishing them. But huge win for the Timberwolves last night over the Thunder.
Yeah, that's
the Thunder have now dropped another game. They're 8-2 in the last 10, and those 2 losses are coming, you know, relatively close to each other. I think the Thunder have, you know,
I mean,
they've started to
say you're 8-2 in the last 10, and people are like concerned about it.
And 25-3 overall. So that is, you know, an incredible pace for the season. And I think, you know, if they could keep getting these big leads that we've seen in games this year, where Shea, you know, is only getting 29 minutes, mostly sitting out the fourth quarter, I think that's going to help them throughout the rest of the season. because it is there is quite a bit of the season left. So as long as they could kind of keep their stars healthy, that's going to be the big difference for them. One last thing before I hand it over to you, the Pistons. The Pistons have been, cooking over there in the East at 21-6. I think that has surprised a lot of people, but I think it says a lot about the team and the players that are on that team about how they've bought in, and they're all young guys as well. And with just the way the team has been playing, it's definitely reminds you of a little bit of the early days Pistons, 90s or early 2000s bad boy Pistons. It's a little bit of that vibe, and obviously having a good guard like Cade kind of leading the way, that's got a bright future in Detroit.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think you look at Detroit with Cade a few years ago, the real question was, how are they going to get out of this slump? How are they going to recover as a franchise? They're going to have to get rid of Cade. He's too good to be there. And
He dug in.
fair play to the front office for building that team up. And it's not like they got run
First
out.
round overall every time,
Yeah,
or spent loads
exactly.
of money.
Exactly. They built that team from the ground up, and fair play to Detroit, and their front office, man. That's really impressive because you see like the Clippers, for example, spend all this money on these superstars that are just out a little bit out of their
Aging.
prime, aging, and just don't have the will, like as some players do, to sacrifice their all to win a game, like Drake was saying,
Yep.
to dive out of bounds for a loose ball
Yeah,
or
you're
to
not
take
going
a
to see James
charge.
Harden. You're not going to see Kawhi do that type of work.
Exactly.
But you're going to see guys like Isaiah Stewart,
Hmm.
who's on, I believe, what is it, Asur or Amon Thompson?
Yeah,
It's one
one
of
of the
those twins is on the
Thompsons.
Pistons. Can't
Yeah.
remember, but and Cade, like young guys like that. They're playing to
Duran.
make their place in this league. Make a
Is
name
it
for
Duran or
themselves.
Duran?
Jalen Duren, I believe, isn't Dr. I think it's Ian. Yeah, Jalen
Yeah.
Duren. Him and Isaiah Stewart together has been quite good this year. Obviously, Cleveland has been a little bit lackluster so far this year, sitting at an 8 seed. I think that's been a little bit underwhelming. Kind of going back to the Raptors with what Drake was saying. I think Brandon Ingram has been really doing some great stuff up there. I think people forgot he got traded last year to the Raptors. I think a lot of people forgot he was even on that team, and he's
I mean,
been
he is only 28 years old.
yeah,
It
he's
seems
been
like
playing. He's been in the league for a minute now. I think this is his third or fourth team he's been on, and I think he's found his place. He can be that the vet that the Raptors need, but he's still in
He still
the
has
prime
time
of
in
his
his
career.
prime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most
Still
definitely.
his prime time stuff. Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
I'm really looking forward to the rest of the NBA season. Not sure if this is too early, but we could do it anyways with last little minute here. NBA final prediction. What two teams you think are in the finals
Jesus.
based on how this year has gone?
Probably, dude, I haven't watched enough NBA. You
This
say
is
your
perfect.
two.
This is even better.
You
Are
say
you
your
looking it
two.
up? Okay.
I got Thunder and Pistons.
I like that. Okay. I'm going to have to roll with the Thunder. And, I'm going to have to go with the Knicks. The Knicks have been looking good with Mike Brown this year. So, yeah, I think the Knicks are going to be able to, make that leap.
Solid.
That was episode 20 of the Section 4 Fans podcast. Thank you. See you next time.